Welcome, everyone. Conversations with the Kenneys, where we talk about love, dating, and all things in between. Really excited to be back. It's the summertime, so just like y'all traveling, we traveling, little hiccups here and there, but hopefully after this Sunday, we will return to our regular schedule, which is every other Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to do a little mishmash today where we talk about a couple of different topics. I'm going to go ahead and unmute the Kenneys. And like I said, at the end of today's segment, I do have some exciting news to share with you all about Convo with the Kenneys. So I have unmuted the Kenneys. Kenneys, you all want to welcome everyone, and I'll continue to tag our usual engagers.
Happy Sunday. Welcome, welcome. We missed you all.
We've really missed you. We're glad we're back. Like she said, like we've never been nowhere. And every 2 weeks, we'll be back at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Absolutely. So yeah, we got a couple people on, so that's really good. So Kenny's, we have a couple of different things that we decided that we wanted to talk about today. One of those things is a couple of videos and just things in current like pop culture. Mr. Wayne, I know you sent something on unconditional love. While I'm tagging everyone, let's start with that, like unconditional love. Like to me, unconditional love and like altruism, is anyone truly altruistic kind of fit in that same category where it's like almost some people don't think that it can really, like it really happens. Like no one's truly altruistic. They're either thinking, oh, I'm serving God, or is never unconditional love because we have expectations. So just on the topic of unconditional love, what do the Kenneys think about the concept of unconditional love in romantic relationships?
Unconditional love in romantic relationships. We have a world now where they're saying that there is no unconditional love. Love is now transactional in the world we live in today. You do for me, I do for you, we do for each other. But now it's like measured, what can you do for me? Can you get me the Gucci bag? Can you get me the Louis? Can you get me a Mercedes Benz? Can you get me a big house? You know, those things are transactional. Unconditional means there is no conditions. That means I don't have to get you anything. I don't have to get you Louis. I don't have to get you Gucci. All I have to do is just love you unconditionally, and hopefully you can love me unconditionally back. What do you think, Neil?
That sounds wonderful, but unfortunately in this real world, it's not always like that. But I do agree with you. You shouldn't have to give anybody anything. You should just love that person. Love on, even in relationships, it could be a girlfriend. It shouldn't have to be transactional, but unfortunately it is. And I know I was listening to the tape and it said it's showing empathy. It's showing that you show up for the person, whether they feel the same way or not. You're showing love, and you tell them that I'm here for you, I love you. And oftentimes it might not feel like that to other people because they might not have never been told I'm here for you or I love you. So it depends on how you were raised and what you were shown growing up. If you've always been shown I don't love you or I'm not showing up for you, then no, it wouldn't feel like it's unconditional. It would feel like it needs to be some type of transaction in order for you to show up.
You know, that reminds me of when I was younger. I couldn't have been no more about 21, 22. We were all standing around. We were adults. And we were talking about what is love. And we were just pontificating about it was what it was and what it wasn't. And it was a little girl, and we didn't even see her. And the little girl said, I know what love is. So we all looked like, little girl, what you talking about? You know what love is? She said, I can tell you what love is. We said, okay, little girl, what was love? She said, love is like when my puppy licks me on my hand. It feels good while he licking, but when it stops, it dry up. And that was a perfect analogy of the relationships we have today. The minute somebody stops making you feel good, you don't think you're in love anymore. People come to me talking about they fell out of love. And I say, well, if you stay around, you'll fall back in love. Because love is not something you fall in and out of. You cannot fall in love. There's no such thing as falling in love. You can prove that. When have you ever fell and something good happened? I don't know anybody who fell. Do you ever fall, Mill, and something good happened?
No.
Did you ever fall, Ashley, and something good happened? You can't fall and something good happen. Falling is talking about being irresponsible. God called me up. He said, Doc, I met this girl, I think I'm falling in love. I said, you can't fall in love. He said, why? Because you got a wife and 3 kids. So you can't fall in love. What you're talking about is being irresponsible. Falling in love is code words for you want to have sex with the person, because you can't fall in love with anybody you don't want to have sex with. So when you hear somebody saying they fall in love, what they really saying to you is they want to have sex with you. What you think?
What do you think about unconditional love?
Yeah, so I found a definition, and like this is just a quick AI overview, and you all in the comments can let me know if you agree with this definition. Kenny's, you all can chime in on it, and then I'll give my perspective. Unconditional love means loving someone without any conditions or expectations. It's a love that's given freely and without regard for the other person's actions, behaviors, or flaws. This type of love focuses on the inherent worth and happiness of the loved one rather than on what they do or don't do in return. So I think that's why it's easy to have unconditional love for your child, because when you look at your child, you see some element of you, even if it's not like physical traits. You might see, oh, their ambition matches yours. So I would say that I don't think that unconditional love is going to be something that I can have for someone that has not invested in me. So I can have unconditional love at this point for my family, because they've already invested in me. So they don't have to do nothing else for me, my family, because I believe that they're the reason I got where I am. No, when it comes to a romantic partner, I can't say that at this phase that I'm loving them without any conditions or expectations, without regard for their actions, behaviors, or flaws, unless they're investing in me. And this definition makes me think how people can stay with like cheaters, because that's a flawed behavior, but you can stay because that person has invested in you. And I just don't think that I don't know that I can do that. Like unconditional loving without conditions and expectations. Like, yeah, no, I want you to love me back. Ain't it a song? It's so good, loving so when somebody loves you back. Is that a song?
That is a song. And you hit the point, Ashley. Like, we don't live in a world where people are unconditional about anything. Whether you're husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, the whole point of putting a title on somebody is because of an expectation. When I say you're my boyfriend or you're my girlfriend, what I'm saying to you is that I have an expectation that you're only going to be with me. That's where boyfriend, girlfriend come in. When I met exclusivity. Yeah, when you give somebody exclusivity, that's a kind of misnomer, because if you're not married, exclusivity is really not realistic, because you can say it is, but in reality, you're not married, so you are available for somebody. It reminds me when I was a young guy, and I was really young, I was a teenager, and a guy came up and I was sitting with an older guy, and the guy said, yeah, this is my woman, this is my fiance. And then he left, and the old guy, he turned to me, he said, you know what fiance mean? I said, no, what does fiance mean? He said, it means she ain't married yet, you still got a shot. So I understood then that, you know, when you're not married, you're just not married, you know, so don't.
Are you single? If you're not married, you single? Can you say that?
Yeah, you can say you're single. Like, even if you're a fiance, you're still single until you put that ring on. You know what I mean? You can be in a committed relationship with somebody, but the reality is you're still single until you get married. And that's just called realism.
But that's going to be a mature, that's going to take a person that's really mature to say that to somebody. Yeah, I can say that I'm exclusive, but what do you want to, moving forward, how are we going to be moving? I want to get married. And if he says no, then you can walk away, or you can let that person know that I'm still available, so I'm still going to see other people. But can people really feel comfortable with saying that to the other person? Because we have 50, 60-year-old people that are saying, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend.
And I'm going to tell you why I like that, but I'm going to get into some of these comments. So we're talking about unconditional love. If you just jumped on, welcome. Jump in the dialogue. So what consistent traits should you look for to let you know your partner doesn't love you? So we're going to get into that with the, after we tackle this unconditional love. Great question. Unconditional love, conceptually, that sounds good. Exactly. Dr. Lawrence, I definitely agree with that. This definition makes me feel that in romantic love, unconditional love is not common, because most romantic relationships include expectations. And I've talked about one of my mentors who has the 4-dimensional love theory, and that top love is unconditional, or covenant love, he calls it, because he's from a spiritual background. I think the further we get away from religion, the easier it becomes to make marriage like a little bit different and not mean as much as it is. Yeah, I don't know if I agree with it as a concept in a relationship. Transactional, and even with family, exactly, because how many times do we say we're gonna cut family off because of their behavior? The investment is the initial step of the transaction with an expectation for something in return. Exactly. I agree with that. Dr. Lawrence, you on it. Hey, Dad. So it sounds like everyone's saying, by that definition. Now, when people say it, like I said, I think that sometimes certain concepts are intended to be guides for certain things. You know what I'm saying? It's not meant, it's meant to be that you, at some point, the love should be unconditional. You know what I'm saying? If you've been married with somebody, if you've been married to somebody for years, or the relationship has existed for years, and they have invested in you and they have been a good person to you, then, and they can't do what they used to do, that to me is a circumstance for unconditional love. Like, let's say that, a woman, like Music Soul Child said, I love you when your hair turns gray, you gain a little weight, or if a man's finances change. But I do agree that it's a little bit difficult. We got 2 more comments, and then Kenny's, I'll let you all kind of speak a little bit more if you all have additional thoughts, because we do have a question. I don't think I could do that, because sometimes relationships come with expectations of you doing something for, now that is different. Doing something for love. Like, now I'm not doing it for you to do something back. I'm doing it because that's my love language. So to me, yeah, that is a good thing. Like, I'm not just doing this so you do that, but I do have an expectation that you appreciate that. Like, gratitude is something that's really, really, really big for me. Love is defined as a service to each other. Yes, but there are still expectations. Hello? Yep, that's my line, sister. I agree with her 1,000%. Any other thoughts on unconditional love, Kenny's? Are y'all ready to tackle that question?
No, well, unconditional love, like I said, in the world we live in today, is more transactional. Because unconditional is I would even say that it might be unrealistic for women. Because women always going to expect something of a man. They're going to expect him to pay a bill. They're going to expect him to be faithful. They're going to expect him to open the door. They're going to expect him to pay for dinner. I mean, there's a lot of expectations in the world that we have today about conditions that men are placed under. They want you to be like their father, but they don't want to be like your mother. And that's why being single is really a chore for men today. The hardest part about being single is about being honest. Men are not honest. They will lie to you, tell you you're his girlfriend, she's his girlfriend, the girl around the corner is his girlfriend, but he don't tell all y'all his girlfriend. So when a man really has the courage, right? Like when I turned 36, I got the courage to tell women that I was single. And the reason I had that courage was because I did that inner work. I went to therapy. I did the inner work. I did the shadow work. I did all the stuff to become the man that I was becoming, because I wanted to be a man that could be married, a man who could have a family, a man that could keep his word. And to do those things, it's like I always explain to women when they come to me, the difference between a boy and a man. Boy stands for burden on you, and man stands for meets all needs. I knew that I could meet all the needs, but I'm not going to meet a need of a person who's not my wife. So I told women when I met them, look, we can go out, we can have fun, we can do whatever, but I can't be your man, your boyfriend. I can't be none of those things, because I was waiting for a wife. I waited 6 years. 6 years I was single, and nobody could say I was their boyfriend. 6 years I was single. Women would stop seeing me because I wouldn't commit to them. I wasn't going to commit to nobody but a wife, and men don't have that kind of courage today. And that's why I had to start a movement of men that mentored by men. Men need mentors, because most men don't have fathers. 80% of the men in prison didn't have a father. 80% of the men in prison grew up in a single mother household. You know what I mean? And that's not a denigration on the mothers. It's just a reality of statistics. Statistics, you might not like statistics, but they're real. What you think about that, Mel?
Well, some of the stuff that you said about women that have a lot of expectations, Men have expectations too in terms of being married. And maybe even being single. They think that you're supposed to be exclusive to them. You know, married, they want you to have to cook for them. And even a single man, they want you to cook, they want you to clean, take care of the house. They want you to, of course, to have sex. You know, so there is expectations on both parts, you know. But I do believe in what you say, it's honesty. You know, and that falls on both, on the male and the female. People are not always honest with one another, so that's when the communication breaks down, because you trying to live a lie, you trying to do something else, and then that person finds out. So then the relationship can be broken. Now, can you build it back? Absolutely. But, you know, Wayne always says that women, we can't handle the truth. But I think that we can. I'd rather be told the truth than to be lied on.
Exactly. So I think that, Mr. Wayne, like you said, you're old school. And it's so funny. So like I was in North Carolina, I was with my uncle, and just like what he's supposed to do, or his obligation to me, even when I want to treat him, because I'm like, Uncle, you invested in me my whole life. He still like just naturally has little things that he's doing. And I think now it's very much 50-50. And I think a lot of men joke about it because it makes them feel more, y'all want to equal rights. Y'all want to equal rights. But I think, I'm going to tell you the difference in highlighting Miss Mildred's point. I think that a man's expectations are clear, because historically men were leaders, women couldn't do things. So historically the man's role has kind of stayed the same. I think in today's time, women actually have more expectations, because on top of the traditional values, which Miss Mildred said, sex, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the home, I think that Black men especially, because that's who we're talking about, have a lot of unspoken expectations and needs that we don't know about until we get in a relationship with them. Like they had trauma, or their finances or their ego feels a certain kind of way. So I actually feel like women end up having it worse if you make more money than him, or you know what I'm saying, like different things like that. And now, you know, with these open relationships and poly and all of that, I know a lot of men that want their women to bring other women in the bedroom. Like, you know what I'm saying, they want you to do some things, and men want to stunt for the gram and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I'm telling you, like, was that a thing for y'all? Did a lot of men want threesomes back then? Like, I mean, when y'all did it.
Well, you got to remember back in the 70s, it was more myopic. We were just like singular, like there was free love where people had sex with a lot of different people, but there wasn't a whole bunch of threesomes going on, because religious people don't like threesomes because they feel like that's against their religion. You know what I mean? So like the good girl, it's like I saw a clip the other day. And the girl it was in a bar, and the girl said, "If you're so happily married, what are you doing here with me?" And the guy said, "Because I'm going to do things to you that I wouldn't do to my wife." And you know what I mean? Then the clip cut off, and I thought, darn, how many people actually, feel that way? You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, in relationships, everybody have different type of expectations, but you also hold people on pedestals that you're going to treat them a certain type of way. A wife get treated a certain type of way. A girlfriend get treated a certain type of way. A side chick get treated a certain type of way. But I don't believe that there is no side chick. I just don't believe in that terminology. You know what I mean?
Do with me what you would do with the side.
Well,
don't hold back. Don't hold back.
More women should think like that. And then we would have different, but I have women that come to me to tell their husband to go out and get somebody to do this, whatever this is, because I'm not going to do this. They tell them straight up. I got a lot of women that come to me like that. So that's not realistic, because that goes back to that religious upbringing. I don't do certain things. I don't go down. I don't do anal. I don't do threesomes. I don't do whatever. And it's fine that you feel that way. But if you marry somebody that's what they want, then you're hamstringing yourself, and you're also causing a problem in that relationship. Mm-hmm. That's why premarital counseling is so important, because you should talk about your sexual preferences. He wants it 3 times a day, you want it once a month. That's not going to work. He wants to be a spendthrift and you want to save money. That's not going to work. He wants 9 children, you don't want but 1. That's not going to work. So these are the conditions, like when you talk about unconditional, no, there is some conditions that have to be put on marriage. marriage does have some conditions with it. There is no unconditional marriages because the whole point of marrying you is because I have conditions on you. I have a condition on you that you're not going to be with somebody else. I have a condition on you that you're going to care and love me. I have a condition on you that you're going to have my kids or either take care of my kids, whatever the case may be. So yeah, in marriage there are conditions, but as boyfriend, girlfriend, I don't believe that I believe that men should have the courage to be single. Single means you don't have a girlfriend. Single means nobody could call you their man. That's what single means. Now, you can be, you know, it sounds like a misnomer that people don't want to be single, but they really don't want to be single because people want to be wanted. Like, I used to be Captain Saver, you know what I mean? And I would go out and rescue them from burning buildings, from drug addiction, from prison, only to find out I lost myself saving them. So that's when I realized that being single was really God giving you a chance to work on you. And I ain't talking about the God in no book, I'm talking about the God of my understanding. What were you going to say?
But I wonder if some women think this, that once you give yourself to a person, whether you're single, well, this being single, do you think that that's your boyfriend, that's your man? I mean, it's unspoken because you are having sex, doing all the things that a married person would do. Then I could see how people think that this is my man until, somebody else come along and say, no, that's my man. So I'm wondering, how does women feel that once you give yourself and you have sex with, you become intimate, are they still thinking that this person I'm exclusive with this person?
Well, that's a conversation you need to have before you have sex. I remember a girl told me, she said, if I give you some, we go together. I said, well, you ain't gonna give me none because we don't go together because you give me something. That's not a criteria for me to go with you or be your man. No, that is not. And we never did it because I was real. Like, look, I have the courage to tell people no. It's hard to tell people no when you want to say yes. It's hard to not put expectations on somebody who you're sleeping with. I get it. Yeah. Right. But we can't let that be a crux to a relationship. Just because I'm sleeping with you does not mean we're in a relationship. That doesn't even make sense when you think about it.
So that's a conversation that
age is relevant. We haven't talked about that, and I think that that's all relative to what it looks like. So I think the younger guys are, the more that they do lie for sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, when they're trying to get it in their, I'm thinking teenage phase, like it was on, what was it? Family Feud. It was like, at what age do teens like start thinking about sex? And it's like about 13. So I think curiosity hormones, all of those things influence if people lie about it or not. So people are goal oriented. So whatever to achieve the goal, and that's always the case. So if anybody has to lie, like if a woman has to Photoshop her photos on social media to get that man to take her out on a date, she gonna Photoshop them photos. If the man got a fraud, like he got a couple dollars, that's what he's gonna do. And so one of my students is doing her research on that. She's doing her research on self-presentation on dating apps and like personality factors and traits. So we know that, yes, people do lie. Now, to your point, because I've been talking to one of my friends about that, I think that individuals in their 30s to 40s that have been married before are no longer opening themselves up for marriage. So, Miss Mildred, I meet a lot of women that I work with that, are in that space in which it's like they do want exclusive intimacy, but they're not necessarily going to verbalize it because there's so much propaganda and memes and everything about people saying like, what are we, and all these things. And because they don't want to get married again, I said, that's too gray of a space to be in, because at the end of the day, why aren't we getting married? But a lot of times it's the man that's saying that women get an unfair advantage in divorce. But I'm like, the only time a woman gets an unfair advantage is when you marry somebody that makes significantly less. But in today's economy, like, I don't know, at least in my social circle, the gap ain't that big. And most of the women, are like, they wouldn't, you wouldn't be giving them nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying, to that. But someone asked, why would you need counseling to talk about sex? And my thought is that sometimes you're not comfortable telling a person that they're not performing the way that you want without it seeming confrontational. So having a mediator could be safe. Kenny's, I don't know if you all have any thoughts on why people come to counseling to talk about sex. And then I want to get back to that question we had early on that we didn't tackle.
I just want to say a little bit, it could be just like what Wayne said. If I want it 5 times a day and you only want it once, then that's going to be concerning. So we would need counseling around that, because my sex drive is higher, obviously, and then you down here, so what can we do? You know, if I want to swing from the chandeliers and you just want it a regular way, this person later, then that would be a problem, because I'm telling you that I want different things in a relationship and you're not willing, so that would be a problem.
Absolutely. I mean, sexual incompatibility is definitely going to be a strain on any marriage or any relationship. So those things have to be talked about, and normally people can't really talk about, especially if they have some kind of peculiar proclivity. You know what I mean? You want something that's not normal, like for people, regular rather. Like say threesomes, where if you gotta have a threesome, or you gotta have oral, or you gotta have anal, you need to talk about that. But the thing is, we've been raised not to talk about that stuff. Nobody teaches you about sex. You know, the birds and the bees conversation, that went out the window years ago. Kids learn about sex on the street. The reality is the average age of having sex now is 10. I know that's scary, but the average age of having sex is 10. That's terrifying to me, that a 10-year-old is having sex. But that's the world I live in, so I got to be realistic about this.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. People are getting younger and younger, and the accessibility. You know, before you used to have to find your parents' VHS, find a time when ain't nobody home, put it in the VCR, rewind it to be like, you know, it was so many steps. Now, like, you can see it any and everywhere, and that is bringing about curiosity. And then there's a lot of research and discussion around the food making individuals go into puberty quicker, and so you have people that are concerned about that. But I will say, you know, just to like round it out, that another reason that, you know, people may go to counseling to kind of talk about like sex is also if it's like something that they don't feel comfortable just sharing with the person, like hygiene issues. Like I know that I was working with a couple, and you know, you can meet individually with couples, and the person kind of expressed that. Like, and how do you tell somebody that without them getting offended if y'all are already walking on eggshells? So some of those things. So we talked about unconditional love. I did want to pivot back to this comment. What consistent traits should you look for to let you know your partner doesn't love you? So we've kind of touched on this in previous episodes, but Kenny's, what are your thoughts on, like, you know, Mr. Wayne, this makes me think about how you said, like, a woman never said, oh, he treated me wonderfully, he cheated, I'm out. It's always like, this dude was dragging me through the mud, doing ABC, and then he cheated, and now I'm out. But do you all think, is there, and people, this, you know, viewing this, you all can type in the comment section also your answer to this question. Do you all think there's a trait that we should look for to let you know, like, that your partner doesn't love you or they're not committed? I'm pretty hard on people with this question, so I'm gonna let y'all handle it first, Kenneys.
I'll go, because I know he's a little bit more longer one. I'm gonna say respect. Respect is big. If the person is just cussing you out, using foul language, that says to me that you don't really love me. You calling me out my name, I'm a B, I'm this, then that's not love. Of course, physical abuse, some people think that means love because they beating on you. No, that doesn't mean love. Just not being attentive, you know, like I said, again, respect, doing what you want to do when we're supposed to be in a relationship, and just not communicating. If it's something that you need, something that I can do differently, communication is big. And, you know, so if you going around saying that, thinking that I'm doing something to you and I don't know, then how is that expressing love? I love you, I want us to work, but you're not talking to me, you know, so.
Well, I agree with you, you know, like, how you can tell somebody, what was the question again? Say it again.
Is there a consistent trait that you should look for to let you know that your partner doesn't love you?
The trait to look for, once you've been in a relationship with somebody, you've established some type of patterns, right? And one of the ways you can tell that that person doesn't love you is their pattern change to the negative. They used to come home at 10, now they come home at 3 a.m. They used to bring you flowers, now they don't bring you anything. They used to want to have sex with you regular, now they don't want to touch you. You know, there's a lot of signs you can look for as far as a person has changed how they feel towards you. You know, so that's where communication, like Mildred said, is so important, because you should be conveying to the person that I don't feel the same. I don't feel like you're treating me the same. I don't feel like I'm getting the same love from you. Because love is an action word. You got to put action behind it. It's just like apologies. There is no apology. Like from down south, you from down south, and y'all both from down south. Down south apology had two parts. You apologize, and then you said, I'm not going to do it again. But if you notice up here, they apologize, and they do it again over and over and over. And it goes back to what you were saying, Ashley, about, like I said, I've never met a woman that said, you know what, my husband treats me wonderful, he does everything for me, but I'm leaving because he cheated. I ain't never heard that. What I hear is, he treats me like a dog, now he's dragging me through the mud, and he's cheating on me. It takes all that to get a woman to leave, because a woman is not going to leave for one indiscretion. That's not what women do. Not normally, you know what I mean? I guess there are some. But it's the same thing about if the person doesn't love you anymore, they're not going to take care of you. They're not going to make sure you're good. They're not going to check your bank account and see it's at a negative. You know, they ain't going to do nothing like that. So that's how it works.
I think for my generation and like ladies that I know that like in their relationships or their thought is my partner doesn't love me, like, because love is a priority for a lot, but right up under love is a lifestyle. Like, I mean, now with the gram and with everybody being educated, and like I said, you know, my group of girls are all pretty financially successful, and they're leaving men now because, but it speaks to your point, Mr. Wayne. If women, you know, want a partner that's going to like grow with them and evolve with them. And to me, what consistent trait is the lack of growth. Like life is gonna have so many ebbs and flows. Like, you're gonna have time when you're making more money. You're gonna have times when you're overweight. You're gonna have times when you're skinny. You're gonna have times when you're depressed. You're gonna have times when you're anxious. You're gonna have time when your work is stressing you. But to me, you still have a responsibility to grow as an individual, to learn how to manage that, because you're committed to your partnership. And so the reason I say I'm hard on that is because to some people, when you don't dig deep into it, it sounds superficial. Oh, you leaving him because he don't want to move into this house, or he don't want to, you know, elevate himself. But a lot of women are leaving men because in their mind, if you're not growing and you know that's what I value, then you don't love me. Like, I think that's really where the measurement is women don't want men to become, you know, complacent with those things. I don't know if you all in the comments have some things to say. Let's see. Some of these I'm gonna overlook. Sleepy, I'm getting texts about you. So let me. Yeah, Sleepy's crazy. Let's see. Oh, is this related to 10 times a day? We got the difference between the Black community. Once a week they turn off electronics. Oh yeah, like different things that are distractors in relationships. But no, Sleepy is not married.
I think that when you said growing, and some people might say superficial, of course everybody expects their partner to grow, but you just gotta have, I guess, sometimes motivate them. But some of those people, the younger people in their circle, if you don't, people are leaving them because they're not growing or a lifestyle, but then they find out they have the lifestyle but they don't have the love, or they meet people who might want to just get in on what they have, and they still continue to search for love. They might not want to get married, but they want their person. So is it like a trade-off? You get a lifestyle but then you don't get love? I mean, like,
I get what you're saying, but like, people grow at different rates.
Right.
Like, sometimes people will grow in spurts and sometimes people won't grow at all. But I get you, Ashley. People have to show me some growth. I don't care who you is. If you're going to be in my circle, you're going to have to be growing. Because if you hang with 10 poor people, you'll be the 11th poor person. If you hang with 10 rich people, you'll be the 11th rich person. So your circle means a lot, but growth is an inside job. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? At the top is self-actualization, which means you want to be the best you can be. You want to attain the highest heights you can be. That's why Les Brown said people don't fail because they aim too high and miss. They fail because they aim too low and hit. If all you want to be is a stocker at Walmart in the middle of the night, then you attain that. If all you want to do is be homeless and beg for money, then you've attained that. But if you want to be a CEO, black people have a tendency to want the benefits without doing the work. You know what I mean? I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, just like you, Ashley. We had to put in the work. There was a lot of sleepless nights that I had to type papers with 2 fingers. I typed 100-page papers. So no, it's not easy to get where we are. No, it's not. It's not. It's not for the weak. If you want to be successful, you can be successful. But most successful men have men that they lean on. That's why they talk about iron sharpens iron. Your circle has to be, you can't be the smartest person in your circle. If you're the smartest person in your circle, you're in the wrong circle.
You have to find another circle.
You know what I mean? You got to find another circle. You can't have everybody just hanging on to you because you're the only successful one. You know what I mean? If real success means I help make other people successful. That's what I strive to do, to make other people successful. My legacy is to leave something behind me that'll be here long after I'm here. This is why I built this office. This office will be here long after I'm gone. That's why I started Next Level Therapy. That's why I started Next Level Real Estate. That's why I started Next Level Trucking. That's why I started Next Level T-shirts. Now we're getting to Next Level Drones. Now we're getting into Next Level Podcasts, Next Level YouTube. It's all going to the next level, because if you ain't getting to the next level, why are you going?
Exactly. And this comment speaks to Miss Mildred's point about respect. You know what I'm saying? Men and women both, feel they aren't loved when they don't feel respected. And and to me, growth falls under that. Seen, known, and heard. If you know this is what I want and you've always known that, then to me, growth doesn't have to look like, where you have the result, but it is a behavior. You know what I'm saying? If a person's trying to lose weight, or they're trying to generate more income, then, you're going to see where they're applying for jobs. You're going to see where they're going to the gym. You're going to see where they're going to church more because they're trying to get closer. So maybe they're still responding, quickly when they're angry, but you should see, some sort of growth towards those things. I will say it kind of interchangeably, a lot of these things are, related. And so we do have a couple of things. That's a strong statement. Black people want things without doing the work. And that really stems from what we've talked about being raised off of survival and love. And, a lot of black people, to me, have, not all, but some have kind of this Negro spiritual that depresses them playing in the background. Everybody doesn't have something upbeat that makes them believe that they can overcome things. And a lot of times, a lot of people just need a win. Not growing is definitely an issue. Complacency in one partner breeds resentment. It does. Resentment transition to diminished respect. Respect is way more valuable than love. And I mean, that's really what things are, kind of built on. And now in the days of, 6 degrees of separation, now it's 3 with social media. That's why you do see a lot of people cheating and, all these other things. I was at a workshop on marriage, and they kind of likened relationships to bread. And they said, if a person isn't growing or doing things, or you don't feel respected, then the bread in your relationship is stale. So now when you out in the streets and you smell that fresh bread, it just wakens up so many things. And a lot of times people, they respond to that. I don't think it's just black people, Mr. Wayne. I have young white people in my office just like that. They want the reward without the work. And that's so I think 2 things can be true. I think in one group, it is kind of this expectation that, I guess it all stems from some level of entitlement. Black people, it may be because, their thought is they got the short end of the stick. And, other cultures, it could be, something else. But, thank you all. Like we are back. So I did want to share a couple things because, like I said, it's 7:29. So we are going to be streaming on different platforms. So we want to keep it so it's still a live discussion because it's really enjoyable when we're able to, have you all comment in real time. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. We do have conversations with the Kenneys on YouTube. And like I said, when we resume in 2 weeks, it will be 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you have any additional comments, just drop them down. We'll likely read them. If you want to join us for a live discussion, definitely let us know so that we can add you to the live. But also, if you have topics that you want us to discuss, let us know. But we're back. We talk about, love, dating, and all things in between. I'm really excited. Like I said, I've been doing research for my conference tomorrow, and it's about why marriage matters. And through my research, I realized that, a couple of the comments in this comment section, I am going to make a post so y'all respond to it so I can comment about what feedback I got in tomorrow's presentation. But one of the bros commented, and he said that, some men don't want wives. And, I do know that there is a strong thought process now about marriage kind of just not being as important, especially as it relates to the Black community. But what I do think is a true difference is that other cultures seem to operate more on facts, and a lot of Black people operate off feelings. So my feelings about marriage based on my experiences, I'm going to say, oh, marriage ain't nothing. It ain't for me. Don't nobody need to get married. It ain't that deep. The woman going to take all your money, etc. Like all of these things that are just lies about marriage. Like it's not even applicable to you. You don't even make enough money to be worried about those kind of things. And other cultures are based on facts. And the facts are that marriage is a protective factor. If your marriage is not a protective factor, you married the wrong person, and that's on you. The facts about marriage is that, there are health benefits. The facts about marriage is that financially, there are things that, people benefit from. So it's not the union of marriage that's problematic. It's the person that you're marrying that is problematic. And Black people, I hope we get to the facts about marriage and the benefits instead of just kind of fantasizing about, oh, this single life is so great. And if you want to stay single, fine, but, don't lie about why you're being single in terms of generalization. So that's my soapbox. I'm going to let the Kenneys close us out with the final thoughts, and I'll peruse through the comments. So Kenneys, y'all can close us out with some thoughts.
And it's funny you said that your circle, you must have a good circle, but you also have to have a village. So your village is there to help you to see different views, your points, your choices that you're making, and they hold you up and know that you still not in this by yourself, because we all need connection. We all need connection, and you cannot do this thing called life by yourself. And if you can, you'll find that you're going to be lonely and a whole lot of other things. But we were created for connection. So that's really, really important. And I do think that marriage is successful, factual, and it works. Like you said, you just find the wrong person, but it's work, just like anything else. To achieve, to get the degrees, to get a job, is work. You can't just give up, and it's about commitment. If you're committed, and it's a choice to love. We choose to love, so if you're not ready for it, and I don't know, it's the age or even older, then that's okay. But if you make a choice, whether to be single or to be married, it's your choice. But in the end, as I always say, love is worth it.
So marriage is relative to age. When we talk about age groups, right? 18 to 25, the divorce rate is 80% or over. 25 to 40, the divorce rate goes down to 40. 50 to 60, it goes down to 15. Over 60, it goes down to 3. You know what I mean? So the older you get married, the better chances you have with that. But marriage is about commitment. And commitment is a form of unconditional love. Because I made a commitment to you, not because I had to, because I chose to. So that's the unconditional part, is I made that commitment to you. But yeah, there are going to be conditions. We're not going to be unrealistic and say nobody has conditions. You want her to treat you right. You want him to treat you right. You want them to buy you things. You want them to take care of you, whatever take care of you look like. But women have to understand, just because you have the access to sex, men have the access to marriage. That's why you see women having a lot of sex, but not a lot of marriages. You can see a woman that's had a lot of men, but she's never been married. She gives them access to sex, but men give you access to marriage. So all that you could have had one, and you now 45, and your body count is at 100. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to work for you. You know what I mean? So we got to be more realistic about who we are and whose we are. You know what I mean? We got to come to grips with the reality that it's harder being black than it is being white. You know what I mean? You're saying that white people do the same thing. The problem is life is a game. And anybody who doesn't understand it's a game is already lost. The game is chess. Black people think it's checkers because checkers and chess is played on the same board, but they're two totally different games. In checkers, you move, I move. In chess, you gotta be 7 moves ahead, right? So teach your kids how to play chess. Teach your kids how to have a relationship with money. Take a money relationship quiz. People don't even know there's a money relationship quiz. See how your relationship is with money. Because if you don't have a good relationship with money, you can't have a good relationship with nobody. Because it's about you. It ain't about your other person. It's about you. You got to do the work. Like I talked about, I went to therapy. I did the work. I did all that before I looked for a wife. I didn't look for a wife. I was 42 when I met Mel. So this isn't for the weak, you know, being married and being committed and doing what you need to do for your family. That takes a lot of strength. And we'll see you next time. And we'll now be on podcast. You can look us up on your favorite streaming. We'll now be on YouTube. Now we're also on Facebook, you know, and we're going to be here every 2 weeks. Sometimes it'll be live and sometimes it'll be taped. Because now we want to be consistent. We won't leave you hanging. We're going to have something up every 2 weeks going forward on the different platforms. We'll talk more about that later. It was a wonderful time being.
I just want to say on YouTube is Convo, CONVO, with the Kenneys.
And on podcast? Same?
That's the same, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
I'll
All right.
be in touch, guys.
All right.
Take care.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I mean, damn, there have to be conditions, right?
Of course, no one should allow anyone to treat them badly or accept abuse of any kind. But that's not what unconditional love is about. It's about having empathy while erasing judgments. No strings attached. It's selfless. It's reciprocal and real. It's not a myth. Based on what you just shared with me about your upbringing, sounds like something that you didn't receive as a child. I mean, your mother didn't choose you when it came to your stepfather. Your father chose addiction over you, at least in your eyes. Has anyone ever said to you, I love you, I'm here for you, and I'm not leaving no matter what?
No. No.
Maybe that's why you don't believe it exists. Because for you, it never has.
What do you think about that, Mel?
I think that's deep, and based upon, I guess, trauma or whatever she had, she feels like it is transactional, just based upon her experiences. So that made her have to self-reflect and get into her to see what she's missing out on, and that it doesn't have to be transactional. That was a deep piece.
That was a real good piece. And as Mills said, she had never experienced unconditional love. And I would submit that most black women probably never have unconditional love, because mom had conditions on you. Normally it wasn't a father. Then when you got out in the street, your friends got conditions on you. So if all you had is conditional love, unconditional love will look foreign to you. And that's why it's so important to nurture your kids and make sure they know that they're loved. You know, a father's love to a daughter is the first love that she'll have. And if you don't treat your daughters correctly, then they'll just be searching for love from one man to the next looking for their father's love, and that's why you see a lot of women with older men because they got daddy issues. They want to be with a man like their dad, and normally that's an older man because the men their age can't handle the things that their dad handled. The men their age don't want to pay the bills. But that's where the misnomer about 50-50 comes in, right? 50-50 was not meant to be you spend 50% of the rent and I pay 50% and then we throw the other 50% away. No, that's not how that's supposed to work. 50-50 was meant to be, all right, both of us is paying $2,000 a month for rent. Now we move in together and now we're only paying $1,000 a month for rent. So now we got an extra $1,000. So if for the next 5 years we save that extra $1,000, we got $60,000. We can buy a car cash, we can buy a house, we can do a lot of things. We can pay for our wedding, we can do a lot of things. That's what the 50-50 was actually meant to do. But people took and ran with it thinking that 50-50 meant that you were just paying the bills with the person that was getting over on you or something. Women talk about they don't want to go 50-50. They don't want to go 50-50 because they don't know what 50-50 means. See, a man has to be a leader. A man has to tell you what's the deal, what's going on. Submission. Sub means under and mission means plan. That means the man has given you a plan you can follow. Look, Mill, we're going to move in together. We're going to save money. We're going to do 50-50. And we're going to save the other 50. And in 5 years, we're going to get married. We're going to buy you a car. We're going to buy a house. Would you go for that?
Yes.
See, that's all I'm saying. But that's because I gave her a plan. When I met her, I told her, I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't do none of that stuff. She said, well, what do you do? I said, I pay all the bills, yours and mine. Can you handle it? She said, absolutely. 24 years later, she still don't know what a bill looked like. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that other men should do that, but that's old school. I'm from the old school. I didn't get this gray hair for nothing. So, what you think about that, man?
You definitely are old school. I think it's just a choice on who you choose, on what you want, and we all navigate through the turns and through this thing called life until we land where we feel like it's safe and where we should be. And you always say that women need to feel safe or protected. So once you feel safe with this person, then you willing to take that walk with them. And is it going to be some conditions? Maybe, but you committed, you communicated, this is what you want to do, so just go on the journey and it'll be fun. I think it's better together than to be apart or to do this thing by yourself, because we hear so many people, and some people can do it, but I know that most of the people I know would rather have a person, a significant other, to walk with, to share with, to sit and listen to some music with. It's wonderful to do that, to laugh with, to have some joy. Joy doesn't come from that person, it comes from you, but it's always good to share and to be joyful with another person.
I'm glad you brought up safety, because women have to feel safe in three areas. Men, to be in a marriage, a woman needs to feel safe in 3 areas, and a man needs to feel safe in 1 area. Women need to feel safe emotionally, physically, and financially. And the man should provide safety in all 3 areas. The only thing a man needs from a woman is respect. Now let's go with that. Let's just say, because age is relevant, at 35, we can go 50-50. I don't have myself together, you don't have yourself together. But at 55, you shouldn't be going 50-50. At 55, if he hasn't figured out how to pay 100% of his bills, then something's wrong with that picture. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't do it, but what I'm saying is that's a red flag indicator. And like, if you want to ride down the street, keep running through red flags, and like I always tell them, women take red flags and make heart symbols out of them. They just arrange them as a heart symbol. You know what I mean? But they red flags. And if you keep going through red flags, the same thing you ignored will get you at the end. You can't just ignore the realism of life. You have a boy, you don't have a man. Boy stands for burden on you. If he's got to drive your car, eat your food, The damn kids ain't got used to juice drinking Mike gone there. Here comes cereal eating Charles. You putting the damn kids in jeopardy. Somebody say the kids, Mill. Say the kids.
That's funny, honey.
But you get what I'm saying? It's real out here. This is not for the squeamish.
It's definitely real, and it's work and anything. I mean, relationships. Even if you have a relationship with a girlfriend or just a good friend or your family, it's work. Because sometimes you have family members that are trying to come against you. You know, so it's work. It's work, and we have to give boundaries, and that is so important in relationships. We must have boundaries. You know, so people might be like, oh, you have conditions. And I have boundary because there's certain things that I'm just not going to tolerate. So if you want to call it conditions, then so be it. I know my boundary and what I can and cannot accept. And you have boundaries with children. You have boundaries with older people. It's just boundaries. Just because you're older, you think that you can cuss me out and you say, oh, that's the way I am. No, boundaries. That's not the way I am. I need to set a boundary. And if you cross it, then that's showing that you don't respect me. And so now I have to remove myself from it.
Absolutely. And that's good that you brought that up, because people need to know what their deal breakers are. And a deal breaker is a behavior. When that person does that behavior, the relationship is over. Hitting me is a deal breaker. Cussing me out is a deal breaker. You know what I mean? Getting mad and not speaking for 24 hours, that's a deal breaker. Like, you can make up your own deal breakers, but you need to know what your deal breakers are, because if you don't, you'll go through life just trying to appease other people and capitulating to their whims and desires. That doesn't make any sense. You can't do that all your life. You can do that part of your life, but you can't do it all your life.
Now, is that a difference between a deal breaker and a boundary, or are they one and the same?
That's a good question. There could be one and the same, but a boundary is just something set in place for people not to cross that area of like not coming to my house without calling. That's a boundary. That's not a deal breaker. So, but the words can be used, you know, for each one if that's what you want.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. They
That's
sound
a good
a little similar, so.
They are similar.
Yeah.
But people need to know that, and that's where premarital counseling comes in. Is it a deal breaker if, like, all right, let me just digress for a minute. All right, there's 3 types of cheating now, right? There's physical cheating, there's emotional cheating, and there's financial cheating. So now, in counseling, we can talk about all 3 of those. But most people don't know. They only look at the physical cheating. They don't look at the emotional cheating. This man or this woman has got an emotional bond with this person on their job. That's his work wife, work husband, whatever you want to call it. And they are, you know, very intimate. And intimacy just means into me you see. That means he's telling her about the wife, the problems with the wife. She's telling him about the problems with the husband. And now, I'm not saying that they're cheating, but there is a form if you want to look at it that way. I don't know any woman, if you found out your man was in some type of relationship with somebody, whether it's not sexual, it's irrelevant. He's in a relationship with this woman that's intimate. And that's going to be a problem.
And that might be harder to break than
absolutely.
Physical.
Absolutely.
I mean, but some people look at it as physical. That's important, but I think emotional is a little bit higher than physical.
Okay. And then financial cheating. You know, taking money that's not yours. It's in our account. I get that, but you weren't supposed to take it to go gamble. You wasn't supposed to take it to go get drugs. You wasn't supposed to take it to go take another woman out. You know, financial cheating is still cheating. You know what I mean? So I need people to know that now that there's 3 types. I got a lady, her husband was giving OnlyFans women their money. He don't even work. He's using her money. Make that make sense. You get me? But this is called reality. That's why we're having these shows, because we want people to know that there are people out here to help. If y'all notice, the P on my hat is upside down. People say, why is your letter upside down? I said, because the world is now upside down, so you come to me so I can right side up it for you.
Oh, he's also a comedian.
Yeah.
So, that being said,
It's been wonderful.
Wonderful.
So we will see y'all in 2 weeks on YouTube, on our podcast, on Facebook Live. We'll be live in living color every 2 weeks. If we're not live, we'll be taped, but we'll have some content there for you. We appreciate you tuning in. Have a safe and wonderful week.
Please do. And again, Convo, CONVO, with the Kenneys is going to be on YouTube. So it'll be maybe a week we'll start uploading. And we ask you to please share, tag us, get other people to come and watch us.
That's it. Kenneys, Kenneys.
Thank
See you next time.
Love you.